Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2. I'm happy to introduce the proud owner of a barracks far more than halfway across the map. In the red, it's the Admiral, GuMiho. And not too far away, a hop, skip, and a jump up a Reaper cliff, we find the base of his Zerg opponent in the blue. It is SHIN. A best of 3 TVZ. Starting off strong here on Post Youth, one of our new maps. And speaking of Post Youth, it'd be awesome if you could like and subscribe. And Jimmy, now it's not offensive if it's true. What? 1,290 likes on this series, on this cast, on this experience. And I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better as GuMiho starts things off on our one of our more creative maps with an old school strategy. Post Youth has 2 bases essentially walled in by a single ramp, a mineral wall with 20 minerals apiece, so 4 trips, 1 for a mule. How convenient. But besides those Reaper cliffs, advertisements are everywhere. I would know. But GuMiho gets in, spots there's no roach warren. Just kind of keeps control of that. Well, sir, papers, please. Rude. Going to deny the third. There's really only one choice for a third base location on this map. So GuMiho may be able to delay for a few moments longer. I don't think he'll get the drone here. Didn't regen enough health. And there we go. But behind it, well, GuMiho already has 3 command centers back at home. Taking full advantage of the mixed pocket base here. The vulnerabilities of the 3CC are pretty much non-existent. Usually, if you're going to get punished, it's on a map where your natural has either no ramp or essentially looking like this. The smaller ramp. But in this case, well, besides the relatively tiny rush distance, once you actually get to the other side of the map, it's almost impossible to get up there. So, not surprising to see them both sitting back and building up after that initial flirtation with aggression there with the early Reaper, but GuMiho clearly just looking to throw SHIN off as opposed to throwing SHIN down. Roach Warren on the way. A Viking is the choice. Sometimes a precursor to other more hidden and expensive tech, but oftentimes just a more economical choice. Drives the overlords away. A Banshee is the safest one, the lowest hanging in terms of the tech tree. Looks like that's where GuMiho's going now. Still leaving his options up. He's got 3 gases here. So he can get Cloak. Is this a fake? He's still building the Banshee. He's still getting Cloak, even after taking out the Overlord. Unfortunately, no fusion core. Or any dramatic transition here. And 2 engineering base. Now that's some greedy Terran right there. 3 CCs, Cloak Banshee. He's going to have +1/+1 with like a grand total of 6 Marines. If he starts everything on time. As he floated the barracks back and is now built, well, he's built a tech lab and is getting stim with it. But otherwise, 2 engineering bays before even barracks 2 and 3. So GuMiho building up to this much later game economy and infrastructure. And SHIN doing essentially the same thing. He built 5 or 6 roaches. 5. 3 more on the way. A lair in order to get an overseer relatively early to deal with that Banshee. Which, spore crawlers are a deterrent. Queens are a stronger and more spiteful deterrent, but the overseer is really the only way to take it out reasonably, especially if you ever want to move out on the field. But taking the gold base on the low ground there, an incredibly vulnerable location if your opponent has any units with which to attack it. And there's the Banshee right now, but yeah, there's only 2 Marines, so GuMiho limited to Hellions and the Banshee, and Roaches and Queens should be enough to defend that base, right up until a tank push is put together, and I'm not the least bit surprised to see that as the choice. Aspire for SHIN. Mutas? an interesting option. I was gonna send the Overseer in. Queens. Brenda, come back! Oh my! Oh no. Sorry. And this will confirm that it is indeed bio. Alright, so until this moment, Shin couldn't have been 100% sure. Could have gone either way. He saw 3 gases early, he saw Banshees. And didn't know whether he needed more roaches. Or, oh, did he just cancel the Spire? So cancels it at the last moment, trades it out for an infestation pit. A clear indicator of the thought process there. If it was mech, maybe Mass Roach Ravager into a Muta swing. Which, an interesting choice. GuMiho not getting combat shield. Is this one of those games where he looks at his Marines, like, really looks at them for the first time and says, oh yeah, I'm missing something? Or does it take a fight? The possibly the most forgotten upgrade in the game, Combat Shield, which is kind of surprising considering how obvious it is when it's completed. Adrenal Glands, I think, is the second most, but that one is a bit more forgivable, even though Shin seems to forget it about half it. Yeah, there we go. But no Combat Shields really takes a lot of the sustainability out of these pushes. Looks like GuMiho agrees. Instead of doing an all-out push, he's just going to set up the tanks back at home and send out a double drop. And Banshee's coming back for repair, traded out for the Marines and the medevacs. The Queen's on the edge. Everything's like a short jaunt across the street here in order to assault your neighbors. Which, considering the men with drugs and guns dropping out of their personalized transports here, well, we're just like home. Melee missile attacks and ground carapace. I don't know why I say ground carapace. I guess it's called flyer carapace. I've never realized the upgrade's just called ground carapace. At this moment, I was today years old when I realized it actually just says ground carapace. Which, again, makes sense. There's air carapace as well. Or maybe it's flyer. Either way. Not really important. But we filled another 20 seconds of time. And now the hive is finished. With Vipers and an Ultralisk Cavern on the way. A bold move. He's going to unlock the Watchtower. You got to do a little bit of... there's a hole in this new map pool. There's a lot of rocks that need to be unearthed in order to unlock key parts of the map, like the Watchtower itself. But GuMiho takes it out. Vehicle weapons level 1, mech weapons. I don't know, actually, vehicle. I guess technically accurate as well. Getting real technical today. Right. Tank push continuing forward. Vipers, I assume, gathering energy somewhere nearby. And going to be critical in dismantling this push. The spread, I can't believe it's not butter here. The upgrades, 2-2, already completed, giving GuMiho a decisive upgrade advantage. And he's closing in on the gold base. Shin. Looks like he's just going to give it up. Where are the Vipers? They have full energy. He's got a lot of banelings on the field, 37, 9 more in production. But the rocks make it a difficult engagement angle. Those are siege tanks on the high ground there. Adrenal Glands, good to see. Also finishing. Chitinous plating on the way. Shin just didn't feel like he had the upgrades or the unit composition to deal with that. And now, working on the counterattack. Drags a surprising amount of GuMiho's units out of the way. Might use this opportunity to just jump on the army out of the map. The siege tanks, still there. Shin rotating around. Those Vipers have several blinding clouds or abducts. Goes for one. Gets a second. Banelings rolling up. Marauders at the front to tank. The siege tank line runs deep, though. And all the Viper energy used. Doesn't even get the second tank, so a bit of a misfire on that engagement. Ghost on the way. Nuclear missile is in production, just kind of casually. Did he go nuke before Ghost Cloak? I believe so, because that's Banshee Cloak. The Terrans are very lazy. They have the same icon for both flavors of cloaking. They make you pay extra to reuse the same cloaking device, but on a ghost. But that is GuMiho in a nutshell. Nuke first, cloak later. Walk softly and carry a big weapon of mass destruction. Corrosive Biles go up, Banshee goes down. Can't explain that. 2 more factories on the way. Looks like he wants to do a mass tank like a Viking. Getting consistent with those Biles. Ultra speed about to complete Caduceus Reactor. GuMiho went Fusion Core for Caduceus Reactor. Beautiful. Gets that double energy regen on the medevacs. The tank's kind of abandoned over here as the Ultra's moving forward. But the Ghosts are out. Vipers have plenty of energy. The reinforcements are a little out of position for GuMiho. As most of the medevacs on the wrong side, but filtering through the metro area of these command centers is incredibly difficult for this bulky Zerg army. This ain't Core Hall. Was it Core Hall? Whichever one in the cinematic. You know what I'm talking about. But unfortunately, no open square to overrun the siege tanks this time. They should have hidden behind the factories. Wouldn't have looked this dramatic though. Meanwhile, though, GuMiho, ripping through EMP, knocks out all the energy on those Vipers. Melee attacks level 2 is done, but so is the base at the front. Another Ultra charging forward. Banelings get a big chunk on the left flank. GuMiho scrambles to defend. Corrosive Biles landing across the board as well. Reinforcements streaming forward. GuMiho maintains the momentum. But his medevacs, well, now starting to heal things up. More Ultras pop out. Infestation Pit itself could be taken out. It's bleeding out as it is. Ghosts on the low ground get a couple snipes, but out of energy to deal with the rest of the Ultras, and the Queens are pulled off the line in order to bring the Ultras back up to something resembling full HP. Why can the Terran... I don't want to talk about the Terran medics flying, all right? I know what you're going to say. We've been over this, all right? We just don't, okay? But they can fly and heal at the same time. We can't even heal. Not even like on a regular basis. How many times? I don't... The Ghosts are saved. Just Marauders left over. A bit beefier to deal with the Ultras. The Planetary not quite done yet as the Ultras close in. Streaming through onto the tank. Meanwhile, the Bio Army at the back. Parasitic Bomb onto the medevacs and a single Ultralisk will chew through. The Zerglings kind of get out in front. There's not a single Marauder with this army. And the Herolisk is cleaving the Marines off the map. And the Ultras at the front are still chewing through. Will finally be taken out. But both players are battered down to 125 or so supply. He's chasing down the army with the bio in the midfield. GuMiho 145 to SHIN's 130. But the Ultras, those meat shields, just covering for everything. And GuMiho does not have enough Ghosts to go around. He's down to 1. That one Ghost snipes out the near-full energy Viper, though. About the most valuable thing it could do. The medevac's still trying to heal, but the reinforcements somewhat cut off. GuMiho continuing to muster his forces. Lands another orbital on the goal. Baneling's rolling in, gets a good target, but there's more behind it. Now he's in the choke point. He never built a wall here, and that means the Banelings. He actually had the depots raised behind him. He was locked into a prison of his own design, and GuMiho gets smashed by the Banelings. Most of the Marines evaporated, the Marauders melted, and everything else chopped to pieces by the fully upgraded Ultras. It's weird to see a mere mortal face the Ultralisk, but indeed here we have. He drops the mules onto the gold, which they don't mind extra, but having that extra income at all. But another orbital command forced to lift, almost taken out by Corrosive Bile. Another drop on the left side. The Zerglings aren't going to be enough. The Ultralisk should be. A few drones might go down. GuMiho drops with a massive amount of his medevacs and significantly less than you'd expect Marines and Marauders, but he takes out the Ultralisk on the way over. And GuMiho right now, dropping mules left, right, and center, will drag the income back into his favor, at least temporarily. He's only down 12 workers. He's got 11 mules on the field right now. There are 11 medevacs as well. He's mining to the set. Even the mules are running away. Still, most of their lives. I don't even think they've returned any minerals yet, so. 3 ghosts in production, but the game has slowed down as the economy could no longer support this level of attrition. So far, SHIN has lost 6,000 more minerals and 2,000 more gas, and he hasn't quite made enough to make up that deficit. Another wave of corrosive bells almost taken out the base, but it's +2 melee, +1 ranged attack, and only +3 carapace. Up against 332. Even though GuMiho, he's only got 3 tanks, but double Liberator and a siege tank should keep this base well enough protected. The Zerglings, oh my god, Big Gabe over here. Hero Marine picked up into the medevac. Will drag the entire Zerg army back. That's how intimidating he is. The gravitas. The infestation pit will be rebuilt. SHIN did maintain his hive, very, very importantly. But I think he's realizing that infestors are going to be kind of a required option as time goes on. Gold base hit again, but the ghosts around the corner. Actually get off some snipes. Oh no! Get off my creep! The Hero Marine goes down. And SHIN, immediately upon rebuilding the infestation pit, gets burrow, gets 4 infestors. Gonna try to lock down the Terran army. A bunch of medevacs. Does he have advanced ballistics? No. That fusion core has been done for quite a while, but he actually only went for Caduceus Reactor. That Liberator doesn't actually have vision. It doesn't have quite as much vision as it can shoot. So if he scans there, he could actually see those drones. Potentially take them out, but it's a bit of an odd situation. Ultra's getting chased down by the bio. The creep is looking good enough for now. Oh, Spore Crawler in position. He's able to back out of range, though. Spire, built for the 2nd time. Might be completed this time around. But GuMiho is maxed out with money in the bank. He's got 5 orbitals. He's got extra command centers, which is an investment in the future. Another wave of corrosive bow. Whole bunch of bandlings morphing in a precarious location. Queen's pulled off the line. Banelings sniped out. More Zerglings on the way. Both sides are maxed after 10+ minutes of fighting. Oh, and the Infestor throws out a fungal, catches a few ghosts. Isn't going to be enough. More on the back line. Viper's on the front. Blinding clouds onto the tanks. Viper's going down. Able to retreat with a lot of the bio. More coming in from the north side. Fungal lands, but the Ultras are going the other way. The army's starting to get disjointed for both sides. We'll see who's able to survive it. As the bio army is battling, some of the Ultras are able to bash through. And they take out the command centers. There's still 2 Liberators to protect. The Ultras find some more of the bio, which will pick up. There's no more anti-air to deal with it. Lining up more snipes. Takes out another Ultra on the way out, but GuMiho down 30 supply at the end of the day. Ooh. Quite a fight across the map. Now realizing he didn't actually build the ghost cloaking. Only the nuke from earlier. I believe he still has that nuke as well. See if GuMiho finds an opportunity to use it. Still trying to get this base. The gold base is SHIN. More snipes. Gets a Viper. Infestor pops up. Gets a single ghost. The increased range with the patch still not working out well enough for him. Takes out the Infestor. Plus 3 mech weapons completed. Fully operational siege tanks. I guess plating, but if they're getting hit by anything, they've already made a mistake. SHIN maxed out, but still struggling to find somewhere to go. One incredibly badly bruised Ultra in a precarious position. GuMiho has 2 sets of command. It's such a weird look. 2 sets of command centers not building in the production tab, which I'm not even sure what's going on there, but it doesn't really matter as this fight is incredibly important. The Ultras are cleaving through. Liberators will siege up. The Fungals are not landing onto the Ghosts, but the Ultras again are chewing their way through, and the Medevacs are out of position to deal with it. Trying to use that one Liberator as a staging area. getting caught on the factories again, but the Ultra's still chewing through. Reinforcements dropping out of the medevacs, but the Marauder is able to focus on the Ultras. Doesn't quite get the last one. SHIN dips down to 122 supply. GuMiho still has plenty of mining across the board here. And SHIN taps it out. I mean, what was this over here? There's just an SCV? That was enough. Well, GuMiho has all of the bases. He still has plenty of ghosts. He has 10 medevacs. He's been able to maintain most of those medevacs throughout the entire fight. And despite heavy losses, the infestors don't find the connections, and GuMiho is able to win the war of attrition. Quite a slugfest throughout that game. GuMiho laying on the aggression, but unable to break through the Ultras easily. But at the end of the day, SHIN just doesn't have enough to break through GuMiho's bank. And that brings us to game number 2. GuMiho off to a 1-0 lead as we go into Crimson Court. If you were looking for rocks, you'll find them here. 24 sets of them. Our most divisive map, and I mean that somewhat literally, as the map is sliced into essentially lanes by the mineral walls on either side, as well as 4 sets of rocks in either of these blocking locations. So, you're quite literally divided into thirds here. Of course, you can circumvent that with flying, or to an extent. Well, actually, I don't think Reapers can. There is no way for the Reapers, if they're not built on that. Well, even if they are. Yeah, even the Reapers, for once, are bound by it. So we will see. The very first thing SHIN is doing is mining through these gold mineral walls to try to unlock his third. So that way he can't be bottled up with a single one. A smart move. It's gonna be Reapers to start as well. Grenade bounces the Queen out of the way immediately. And the Reaper takes a look around, but is there gas for SHIN? Indeed. Can start the Zergling speed. Though a little later. Could have a third hatchery soon. There's 116 gas. What are we doing, SHIN? Dealing with the Reapers. But every second late that the Zergling speed is another potential second you're going to have to do. Ah. And there's why. He wanted to hide the lair. We'll wait till he pushes the Reapers as far away as possible. Did GuMiho... GuMiho doesn't know for sure that this is mined through. Oh, but the Reapers are chasing down the Queens, getting bullied by the grenades. A Roach Warren is on the way. Another Queen just getting chased down. I think GuMiho getting a little suspicious here. 2 more Queens coming down. Another set of grenades trying to... May end up losing 1 or 2 of them. GuMiho has not seen the gases. This could very well just be a Spire. It's unclear at the moment. He has 3 gases, going on 4. Roach speed starts. And GuMiho back at home as Stim on the way. Multiple barracks, of course, as when you go for 2 racks Reaper, believe it or not, that involves 2 barracks. And heading towards medevacs. Oh my, the Overseer pops out. It immediately dies, which... Well, bad luck Brian over there. Starport halfway down. He's just gonna walk across the map. Trying to catch SHIN off guard. But he's actually going straight into the roach timing. So this is an anti-timing right here out of GuMiho, though he doesn't know it yet. SHIN trying to hide the roaches for as long as possible. GuMiho already turning around, but he doesn't know that it's so many roaches that he should already be on the other side of the... Okay, this is a bit disastrous. He actually stims away. Until speed is done. He can't really chase down the Marines, but speed will be done before GuMiho can get back across the map. That is a lot of roaches. He's hiding. Oh, he's hiding in the bushes there. Gonna try to target down as many as possible. He will get most of them on the low ground. In fact, all of them. But now more roaches and ravagers, and roach speed is done. So SHIN is on the chase, and there's nothing to heal these Marines. He's just gonna try to fight. Corrosive Bow will force him further back. And Combat Shield is most of the way done. But most of the way ain't there yet. He may have to pull the boys just to survive here. And Medevac. GuMiho's actually supply blocked, though I think this will help him out with that. Another stim. Combat Shield finishing mid-fight. Gonna dodge through the corrosive biles. And, well, behind it, SHIN up to 69 drones, which is a nice bounce back economically. A scan at the front, looking to see if the roaches are sticking around. So, I think SHIN got everything he needed to do. Smart move to build the economy behind. He very well could have won the game with just Mass Roach Ravager, but it's almost impossible to know. Because if GuMiho just happens to have all his barracks up, or if he takes a particularly good fight, and you're stuck on 44 drone Roach Ravager, well, there's not much of a path out of that. But now that he's got the economy, he can definitely afford a few losses and still potentially recover. It's just that GuMiho gets a little bit more time to pressure him as well. Gets 6 rounds. Creep will be replaced. But Queens are forever. Well. Zergling speed now on the way. And GuMiho just going to continue the pressure. I think realizing that he waited too long and he's not going to be able to just sit back and catch up economically, but instead needs to get some damage done. SHIN just gives up the middle base, realizing there's no way to hold it. He's just now working on his upgrades. So GuMiho does have that +1 done. So that is it so far. Changeling hanging out. Oh, actually takes out the hatch. No cancel. A bit sloppy out of SHIN. Surprised he's committed to that base. The most tank pushable base in possibly the entire map pool. Carapace completed. A scan spots the army. Hive is nearly completed. Marines will intercept the roaches and vice versa. A lot more supply being dragged to the north side. GuMiho forces another cancel. He's keeping him bottled up on... They'll expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. Well, one Marine survives. A few Marines to take out the Overseer in the main. And, well, this is an interesting choice. As long as he doesn't commit to actually sieging up the tanks. He's able to lift up, get out. And SHIN is really struggling to take a 4th base here, as GuMiho shores up his economy. There are Vipers on the way, Adrenal Glands, missile attacks level 1, and GuMiho kind of slacking on the upgrades. His armory, just now halfway done, 2nd engineering bay, but he's not going to have that massive upgrade advantage he was working with for pretty much the entirety of last game. It's just not going to happen here. SHIN definitely with the economic and soon-to-be tech initiative that will allow him to go back on the attack. An Ultralisk Cavern on the way as well. GuMiho does have a 4th command center building. Snaps up the Marines. Liberator, slowly but surely, demonstrating it actually does have an anti-air attack and destroying the Overlords. More barracks on the way. But GuMiho down 50 supply. And SHIN is now maxed out. There's really no reason for SHIN to sit back at this stage of the game. He needs to hammer on that 4th base as much as possible. Siege tank in a pretty key location, both sides. Goes with the Blinding Cloud. So he goes with the Blinding Cloud on the one tank and then abducts the other ones, which it works out, but an interesting choice nonetheless. Meanwhile, a single Liberator picks up the Marines and Marauders just in time. GuMiho with units almost seemingly randomly strewn throughout SHIN's base, but SHIN in full retreat. He's lost 15, 17 drones, and he hasn't really dealt with any of these medevacs. The attack completely undercut. GuMiho sweeps the leg, and, well, he takes out the Vipers as well. The Parasitic Bomb doing a lot of damage to the medevacs, but can't outright kill them, at least not one. And that means GuMiho able to make up a lot of ground, both economically and quite literally. SHIN took a lot of time coming back to defend, but now he's barreling down the front. And no ghosts to help deal with the Ultra in the back. A bunch of Banelings leading the charge. The Ultra almost an afterthought here, trying to come through into the natural. The Siege tanks in nasty locations to deal with this. But GuMiho's supply is plummeting. Most of his units are actually on the other side of the map right now. The depots on the top of the ramp won't hold forever. The Ultras chew up the counterattack, and it looks like SHIN just has too much. He just leans on GuMiho, and GuMiho crumbles. The Zerg are able to overrun. Well, at the end of the day, more stuff indeed counters less. More SHIN counters less GuMiho, as they say. But GuMiho unable to get the ghosts out in time. A little too focused on keeping the pressure on SHIN and not having enough at home. And SHIN more than happy to take the fight to him. Even if it took quite a while to get there. So, 1-1, the decider will be on site Delta. We'll see if it's GuMiho able to stick to his guns, or does he choose something a bit more technical? And does SHIN stick with the spawning pool? Or continue to climb the tech tree? A barracks at the front, a factory at the back. Now this is an odd one. Ah, this is to be able to lift it, I think, and kill the Overlord. If the Overlord's in a location he needs to. Very odd one. He's clearly trying to hunt for Overlords here. There is one sliding along the left side, but SHIN is taking a very safe path with it. Overlord down the center. He finds it. Why is there an SCV? Is he going to bunker rush the 3rd? Who does that? That has to be intentional, right? Like, this is... No. You don't just... Sir? No, this... What is this? Platinum League. Okay, he's like, well, bunker... Well, you can't get the queens there in time. Brenda, did you notice the SCV that went by the Overlord? Yeah, that was... Oh my god. Well, the queens are about to find this out. They're gonna have to kill the SCV in time. The Marines are fighting. One queen works on the SCV. He's gonna kill one queen. This has successfully distracted the queens for quite a bit. Speed is not done. The Hellions are getting surprising amounts of damage here. Do 2 Hellions and 1 Marine kill a queen? I want to say no. And that's mostly because the Zerglings will try to murder you first. But... So this is definitely an odd start. A whole bunch of Zerglings are heading across the map. GuMiho's been incrementing out Hellions out of a naked factory here. The Hellions have to come home. There is a wall on the top of the ramp and a Banshee on the way. SHIN has invested in a inordinate amount of Zerglings. I think he wasn't exactly sure what he was dealing with, so he overcommitted. But it's gonna pay off, as that should be enough Zerglings to at least kill most of the Hellions. Gets a good surround. Banshee? Well, Banshee is out. But we'll even bother with using it to defend. He's already building... Where was that Overlord? Oh, it just ended up hanging out in the corner. I think he stopped moving it once he saw the Marines. Anticipating... You know, he might be anticipating Battlecruiser. Because it's so odd to just see naked factory Hellions. He's gonna... So GuMiho with certainly an odd start here. He does have a third command center. He does have Cloak on the way. But his natural has been delayed significantly. He's down 15 workers. He pre-cloaks the Banshee, but there are spore crawlers here. SHIN understood the weaknesses of this situation. And now, well, a Banshee not going to get too much. A Raven on the way. GuMiho is trying to check off his bingo card for units he hasn't used in this series yet. Well, I guess units he hasn't used in this way. But it smells vaguely of mech here. I mean, he's got 4 gases. He's building a Raven, which means he's sticking with that Tech Lab starport. There are 2 armories, so now the stench grows stronger. Looks like GuMiho will be taking us to McDonald's, but only if you finish your homework first. Which is essentially mining 500 gas in order to get everything but the factories. But here we go. Those armories now 50 gas cheaper since the newest patch, which is quite a significant buff. Only kind of overshadowed by the fact that infantry +2 and +3 are both cheaper as well. Alright, engineering bay. Hellions try to come in, but boxed out by the queens and the Zerglings yet again. Is there even a lair? Yes, he's building a spire. Will this be the Spire of Legend that actually completes the first one this series? Or ends up being used at all? SHIN has built like 4 so far. GuMiho lands his 3rd. He's working on 1-1. It looks like he's going with a classical mech. Wouldn't be surprised to see Thor's. It was the first choice. Banshee's just going to work on the 4th base. Very unlikely to actually get it. So it's all going to depend. He actually getting Cyclones, and with the new fancy icon, like Hurricane Thrusters, or whatever we're calling it now. It's the same upgrade, just renamed because Cyclones don't have thrusters, apparently. I like the idea of strapping a rocket to the back of it, but getting too pedantic. Anyways, the Zerglings are doing surprising amounts of damage here. Like, they just keep going. A single Hellbat at the back is all that stands between GuMiho and losing this base. But that one Hellbat, wow, that one Hellbat distracted several dozen Zerglings and kept all but 3 SCVs alive. That one Hellbat can be credited with saving at least a dozen SCVs and buying the time that was needed. SHIN just assuming it'll die. I think there were 1 or 2 SCVs repairing it as well. But now 11 Mutas on the way. Roach Warren has a follow-up swing potential. Infestation Pit, a little bit of everything across the board here. I think anticipating, to an extent, the Mutas. GuMiho building some turrets. Cyclones are okay against Mutas. In low numbers, they can take it, but as time goes on, any ground unit is going to struggle. Oh, cloaks the Banshees. Cyclones should be moving into position. Indeed, they are. Easily take out one. That lock-on cooldown certainly hurts. And now he's going for the speed. That speed upgrade is very important. Moving away. He's going to have to just keep going back and forth without the speed upgrade. Banshee speed is on the way. But everything going to be a little bit slower at this rate. Getting Cyclone speed sniped certainly hurts the maneuverability here. Now GuMiho is going to be bottled up in his base for pretty much until he maxes out. He needs that Cyclone speed. He's working on 2-2. His economy is still okay, but shit is at 103 drones. Two drones. So this is a very 300 supply style Zerg economy. He's going to send wave after wave of apparently also the drones, which he misrallied across the map, but it is reliant on just whittling down and winning a war of attrition, as opposed to taking one big game-winning fight. So Shin's objective will be to lose fights well. Because GuMiho does not have any bases to lose. He can't really afford to replace many of his units easily. He needs to keep as much intact as possible. And Shin knows that as well. Baneling speed on the way. +2 melee. Right now, 1-1 for either side. It looks like GuMiho will actually have an advantage in upgrades with the mech upgrades. Hive is now finished. Greater Spire starts immediately. The Banshee's still looking for an opportunity. Banshees with speed are actually faster than Overseers until they also get their speed upgrade. The Hellions caught by surprise despite seeing everything on the rush. The Zerglings, though, decide, it can't be that many. Yep, there's plenty of siege tanks. Banshees chasing the Ravagers. Fun fact, that +1 Carapace saves them from getting taken out in 2 volleys. Interesting. Corruptors in production, but GuMiho going to be able to lay down his 4th base, drop the mules, and get that much closer to maxing out. Shin still sharking around with his mutas. The sharks of the sky. It's kind of terrifying. Thors finding their use case for splash damage mode, which is pretty much just mutas. +3/3 is on the way. GuMiho maxing out those upgrades, but Shin is looking to take his entire half of the map. And ideally more than that. Some Hellbats wandering forward, seeing what they can see. The creep spread is quite lackluster here, but when your army is mostly Muta Broodlord, creep is not as beneficial. And the priorities are there. Now this is an interesting one. The Banshees fly right into the Broodlords like, well, actually, no thank you. Well, here we go. GuMiho's army supply is comparable. He has a lot of anti-air. I'm not sure about this engagement out of Shin. Anti-armor missile. Dorito dusts all the Broodlords. Cyclone's coming in from either side. Banshee's just kind of in the mix here. Raven, mostly uncontested, gonna lay down some auto turrets. Not all the Thors are in high impact mode, but the Cyclones with the surround. And while the Broodlords are able to whittle down a lot of the ground army, once the Thors close in, they should be more than enough to deal with the rest. And 18 Hydralisks are the choice. GuMiho actually turning around here. The Broodlord's not going to let him go. The Broodlords definitely can't beat those Thors. Why is Shin sending changelings? Maybe they believe too much that they're Marines. He's sending changelings back towards his own base, which is very confusing, because that's not how that's the most convincing Marine. A bunch of Hellions headed north. More Thors on the way. Did he get a Lurker Den, or is he just going with stock Hydra? No Lurker Den. So it is just going to be the mass Hydralisk. Well, Hydra is still pretty solid. The Broodlords will evaporate, but the Hydras and Roaches, Banelings, the tanks move to body block, but there's just so much Zerg across the board here. And GuMiho will lose the critical mass of Thors. And the Banshee gonna go down as well. There's not that much left over. 30 more roaches on the way. As SHIN looks to drive the point home. 3-3 about to complete, but there's not much left over to deal with. Or to take advantage of it. 3 Thors in production, 8 more Hellions. Melee attack about completed. But at the end of the day, those Thors are facing Ragnarok. The Thors on their own aren't going to be enough. The roaches are closing in. Without the splash damage, the Zerg are overwhelming. He's able to pick up 1. Hellbats are quite tanky. Thor Hellbat. Ten more Hellions at a time. That's all GuMiho can really do here. He's gonna try to drop on top of this. Not even finding the space to drop out the Hellbats. They're dying almost immediately anyways. More Thors. And it looks like SHIN is just rolling over him. Juggling the Thors back, but GuMiho's running out of supplies, running out of options. Siege tanks on the way, even if he's able to stabilize. SHIN doesn't... Well, his supply is dipping. Does he have larvae? He has 53 larvae, so that's a yes. So, GuMiho will live. But what is it going to be, SHIN? 23 Hydralisks. So, GuMiho feels obligated to get some damage done here. But a couple dozen Hydras about to pop out. Hydras on their own are not going to be enough. Well, the Vipers will certainly help. Zerglings to counterattack and undercut the economy. Just Hydras would not be enough. But with all the other factors here, GuMiho's been able to take the base to the 6:45 o'clock. But at the end of the day, it is indeed the twilight of his build. He needs to live through this next wave. And I'm hard-pressed to see him doing so. If the Vipers don't land anything and the Hydras all go right down the center. He yanks in, gets a tank at point blank. There's still one more on the back line. The Hydras will maneuver around. And there's no tanks left to deal with. Brenda, where are you going? Trying to drop the Hellbats on top of the Hydras, actually going quite well, softening up most of them. Has some more Hellions on the back line, but there's just not enough. Without siege tanks, it doesn't matter how many Hydras you incinerate. More will replace them. 4 siege tanks on the way, but it looks like SHIN, unable to quite close it out, is going to reach for the Broodlords yet again. Which could certainly be the killing blow here. Finds an orbital. GuMiho, 35 workers. He's down 100 supply. Hellions. There's more spines than a chiropractor's office right now across the map. 11 spines. So small office. 9 more Broodlords on the way. A double Thor drop. Something I expected to see earlier. It might be a bit late now. Boosts away. Not even the Hydras can catch. The Broodlords in production. Now delivered. GuMiho manages to scrape together 115 or so supply. He's building 5 tanks at a time, but that's a GG of Broodlords right there. And at the end of the day, it's just too much. He's had enough of this SHIN. Who takes it? 2-1. GuMiho, a hard-fought battle, but SHIN's brute force and brood force Zerg is more than enough to take the day. He wins 2-1. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it made your day a little bit better. Hard series for GuMiho, but solid. Zerg macro out of SHIN. Thank you for watching. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome if you could check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. And if you haven't yet checked out the second channel, Winter Gaming TV, you can find streams, more content. You got more hours in the day. Well, it'd be awesome if you could check it out in the description. Or if you want more casts, just if you see it in the recommended, that's the best way to help out. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay tuned.